Well, here we are again, 3-day weekend, and we're recording at 7 o'clock on a Monday night.
It's not 7, it's 6:57 p.m. To be specific.
So, all the time. In fact, I believe how many times? I think we said Friday, let's record tomorrow.
We said we were even
Saturday,
thinking
we
about recording Thursday.
Yeah, we were even thinking about
then
recording
we changed
Thursday.
our mind.
We had everything. We had everything we were going to watched by Thursday, and then we just didn't.
And we still had a busy weekend.
Then we almost died on Sunday on our long run, and so that prevented us from doing it yesterday. And then today I've been up all day cooking meat.
Yeah.
So that's why we're just getting it to it now.
It's Labor Day weekend, though. We needed to give ourselves some bit of
That's
a break.
True. Hey, everybody. Welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about TV we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope. And welcome to the podcast. Remember,
welcome back.
Reminder, this is a spoiler podcast
Yes.
for all the things we talk about, including the 20-year-old show that we're going to talk about. So we just want everybody to know that up front that we will talk about the things that you maybe don't want to know.
Which,
until
when
you
I was
watch
trying
it.
to talk to you about a plot point that's coming up on our 20-year-old show that we're watching, you were like, spoiler alert. And I'm like, but I swear you've seen that episode. So
I don't recall
years
the
ago.
things that you're telling me.
We also had college football kickoff this weekend. Nothing drains joy and happiness like Mountaineer sports.
True.
These days.
It's true.
We knew that WVU was going to lose their opener, though. Not much confidence in coaching staff, etc. So we saw it coming. But
Why'd they make us wait till 7:30 in the evening
I
for that game?
I think it's because it was like considered one of the bigger games, I guess.
Oh, okay. I guess so. Whatever.
I know we have some people that root for that other team that we played that listen. So shout out.
She's talking about Penn State. Now, what are y'all? Because you're in Happy Valley.
You play at Beaver Stadium.
But you play at Beaver Stadium,
and you're the
Nittany Lions.
What's a Nittany Lion? Somebody
like
tell me.
all these different names. It's like, can we get some consistency in here? Because it's like, I understand when a stadium is named after a person, right? I get that.
Yeah, we're like Milan Puskar because it's like a company that like bought. So the same thing.
Oh, good.
Well, it's like Heinz Field is now, what is it called? Acrisure?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody cares.
That.
Nobody's going to call it that. It's Heinz Field.
I mean, here's a great example.
This is not coming from a Steelers fan, by the way. I'm not a Steelers fan.
It
is still Heinz Field.
Join us in the fandom. But here's a good example of how people are not going to call certain things. So in West Virginia, the state of West Virginia where we're from, the state track meet was always held at Laidley Field. Now it's called Laidley Field at the University of Charleston at Laidley Field or something. I think they tried to keep the Laidley Field name in, but it's like supposed to be University of Charleston like stadium, right?
Yeah, we're not calling
Something
it
to that effect. We graduated.
That's our alma mater, by the way, University of Charleston.
And I'm like, I'm still calling it Laidley Field. People need to stop changing the names.
I'm not calling it that. Oh, I forgot to open my beverage before the podcast.
You're trying to do like ASMR, like
I should have held it up to the mic and done it, but
and let the fizz like so people could hear it. Some gentle tapping.
No, that's
Don't
okay.
we already have like here's I'll tap on my phone.
Ooh, I can hear that in my headphones.
Podcast ASMR.
That's actually not bad.
It's for the after show.
So before we get started here, just wanted to remind everybody that if you are listening, but on any of the wonderful podcasting apps out there, but you haven't actually committed to pressing that follow button yet, if you could just take a moment and press that follow button for us, it would be really helpful, and it would give me just that little bit of serotonin boost when I go to check on Wednesday, Thursday, whenever, and I see that number has gone up.
It would heal those wounds from losing our first football game of the season. So that's something that we've been watching, though, college football. We watched another game with Deion Sanders.
Yeah, we watched Colorado
TCU. Why can't he be my coach?
I think that he should just, if he ends up winning a natty with Colorado this year.
Oh my gosh, you think he can win a natty?
No, I don't think that.
Okay,
I'm just saying in my playground,
right?
Like that team was terrible last year, and they just beat TCU in the opener this year. Okay, so let's say
even though TCU got like destroyed in the title game last, they still were a playoff team. They still beat Michigan.
Right.
I'm just gonna throw that out. They still beat Michigan.
So anyways, let's just say he is the soothsayer here. Can he just go to all of the D1 schools that are needing championships? because they don't have them. Like WVU has the most D1 wins of any school that hasn't won a national championship. Can we just get that out of the way, and then he can go move on to the next school year to year and do that? That would be
fun.
excellent.
I would love
that.
to have him. Come on. But even when you have no excitement and joy because your program has been destroyed, it's still fun to watch college football, and it's that time of year. We get the NFL starting next week. That'll be fun. And you know, one of the things
it forces us to watch actual TV, which leads to
commercials. And that's my next point. Sometimes advertising really does work. I am a notorious, typically person that's like, ew. Anytime somebody mentions going to KFC, Daniel's always trying to get me to eat there. And I'm like, ew, I don't want
some
that.
chicken?
I don't want that. Like, no, because it's just not my thing. It's not my vibe. And we're watching it was before the WV game.
Yeah, it was during the Colorado game.
We're watching the Colorado TCU game, which when it's not my team, it's like whatever. And it's just fun to watch when you have no stakes in it. Because even though like I knew I was going to lose Saturday evening, you know, no one likes to lose. But I was like, ooh, I want this. So KFC was advertising what's called their big, and we're not being paid by KFC right now.
No, we are not.
But hey, KFC, sponsor us. We're watching the ad for their big fill-up box. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, the big $20 fill-up box. I don't think if KFC sponsored us, that would be a good thing for me.
I think it'd be a great thing.
I don't think that would be good for me.
I mean, you do love some chicken.
How many pieces of chicken did I eat this weekend?
A lot. But we got the big fill-up box. It's a lot of food for $20. You got like biscuits, nuggets. I didn't even know KFC made nuggets now because they used to have popcorn chicken. They took that off the menu, and then they didn't have it, even though Daniel's like, they've had nuggets forever. No, they have not. Maybe in the past couple years, but they have not had nuggets forever, or I would have been ordering that. They did not. And I am a researcher of menus, so you know this. Search your feelings.
Right.
You know this to be true.
She's pointing at me again.
And
I'm being lectured.
so it came with nuggets. Their nuggets, surprisingly good.
I mean,
I would rank them better than Wendy's nuggets.
They were just nuggets with the same coating that the chicken gets. So yeah, that would be
tasted
good.
better. I put them just a slight notch under Chick-fil-A's nuggets, which I love Chick-fil-A's nuggets, and as do you. You once ate 42 Chick-fil-A nuggets in one day, so I know you love them.
I regretted that.
So then you pick your 4 sauces, and then you actually get like the regular chicken, and you can pick like is it original recipe?
Yeah. I just want to point out for everybody listening, it wasn't 42 in one sitting. We were traveling.
Oh, he's talking about
it was
Chick-fil-A
like
now.
2 packs in the morning and 2 packs in the evening. It wasn't all at once.
It was a lot of chicken.
Yes, it was.
A lot of chicken. Anyway, so back to the KFC fill-up box. You get the biscuits, you get the nuggets, you get the 4 sauces, you get the regular chicken. And I guess KFC has fries now. And the fries weren't bad either. And we had them warmed up, so that's what we got for our game. And then Daniel, of course, had to get an extra bucket of chicken, which he ate out of the next day after our long run, cold, straight out of the fridge. I changed out of my sweaty clothes after our run, and I just come in, and he's hovered over the counter with the bucket, looking
pretty
like
sure I was
You're
shirtless.
looking like Gollum.
I'm pretty
Lord of the Rings, like mine, back off.
I'm pretty sure I was shirtless as well.
No, you had a shirt on.
Okay.
You had changed your shirt because you had that, but you had like the sweat and this chicken grease dripping on like your. And I do love you. But he was like, do the Gollum voice.
This is your man.
Yeah, that's mine.
My precious.
But you were like, and you look over at me, and you just like moved your arm like off to the side. I'm gesturing. I wish people could see. Like it's like, don't come near me while I'm eating this chicken. And I'm like, did you not microwave that?
No.
And he just eat it cold out of. Do people? I know people eat cold pizza. Never been my jam either. But like I didn't know people ate cold chicken.
I can't speak to all chicken, but some good pieces of original recipe KFC straight out of the refrigerator the next day, especially after like working out, you're tired. Chef's kiss, perfection.
Okay. Well, anyway, so the fill-up box, that was a good.
I like the box it came in, like a pizza box.
Yeah, because it always takes me back to
because you were actually really concerned about that. Like, what's it going to be like? Is it just going to be open-ended? I'm like, they're not just going to give it to me at the drive-thru.
And the ad, it looked like they just stuck it in the box and didn't have a lid. But then it took me back to another famous episode of television where, because I'm like, well, now this joke might not fly because where Dorothy walks in with the pizza box, and Rose is like, from the Golden Girls, guys, and Rose is like, what are you bringing home for dinner? And Dorothy's like, a bucket of chicken. And I'm like, hey, we can make that joke because now it really did look like a pizza box. That was the highlight of the night, the KFC fill-up box, and the best part of the game for me, other than Penn State's kicker missing 2 of the kicks, which kept WVU at least somewhat in the game till the wheels fell off in the second half. But the best part was they had the squirrel that like got loose on the field, and the Mountaineer, that's WVU's mascot, like almost caught it at one point.
He like just tries to bare hand catch him.
I love it when animals like kind of like rogue animals like enter stadiums and chaos ensues. I think one time I was watching a Pittsburgh Pirates baseball game, another unfortunate franchise. Welcome to my fandom, you guys. It was versus the Marlins, I think it was at the Marlins, right? And the cat. Do you remember the cat that was like running all over the field?
I was getting ready to remind you of the possum in the Browns stadium that one game. They found him up in the stands, like he was just sleeping under the benches.
Of course, the Browns would have a possum. Other people get cats, cute squirrels. The Brands get the possums.
Checks out. So
anyway, I hope everybody's excited for football season. And I thought of another animal story, or was it the animal that did it? So a couple years ago, I think it was an Oklahoma game. Boomer Sooner, don't know what that is, but they bring like a Oregon Trail style like wagon out, and didn't like one of the horses or something like run off, or the wagon busted?
The wagon fell over. I don't know if it was the animals that had anything to do with it, but the wagon fell over with like the
I just remember that
the cheerleader and some cowboy.
It was like the homecoming queen, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Something on it.
And they just ate dirt hard.
Yeah, I remember that happening one year in football. There's always some type of shenanigans. So yeah, happy football season and happy fall, even though it's in the 90s, at least where we are. Is it nice in fall where you are? Are you guys ready to watch Hocus Pocus every day? Are you ready for a Gilmore Girls rewatch? I always watch Gilmore Girls in the fall. Again, not saying someday we'll talk about Gilmore Girls in depth on this podcast, but for now, we do have some recent shows that we've watched, and we didn't really get into the last time because we had a lot of finales to talk about. So we have a new Star Wars show out, Ahsoka.
Yeah, we've got the first 3 episodes of Ahsoka. They gave us the first 2 episodes for a premiere, and then last week's episode, which we have none of those we've talked about yet. We kind of said last week's podcast that we were just busy, and we...
Last week we had a lot of finales to cover.
And we also didn't want the episode to go 2 hours. So
as much as you guys love to hear us rant, we figured no one wanted to listen for 2 hours. So we thought, well, let's hold off and give some Ahsoka more attention. The first 2 episodes, great.
Yeah, I agree.
3rd episode, meh.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, I'm not saying I disliked the 3rd episode, but it was a big nothing burger. No plot was really advanced. It was a lot of flying around in the spaceship to get to point A to point B. So let's rewind though and talk about those first 2 episodes. Is that your rewind noise? It's my rewind noise.
What exactly is that?
I don't know. Is it like a VCR? I don't know. The VCRs make noise? Those relics?
Yeah,
Who knows
do.
What a VCR is? That'll show your age, folks. I thought the first 2 episodes were great. I can definitely say that I'm a teeny bit salty for one major reason. I feel like I started, now maybe someday I'll go back, and I've seen her episodes in Rebels, but you started me off on Rebels before the Clone Wars, and I'm sorry, I thought Rebels was really stupid the first couple episodes I watched. It was very childlike. The blue guy annoyed me. I was just like...
Zeb is purple.
Okay, whatever. I just wasn't vibing with it. So, but then Daniel introduces me to the Clone Wars, which I still have not finished, but I adore the Clone Wars. Everyone's like, and Daniel was like, and Ahsoka's kind of annoying the first couple. I didn't find her annoying at all. But then again, like I found this before characters that people are like, oh, Scrappy Doo's annoying. I'm like, I love Scrappy Doo. Like I thought
everybody
like Ahsoka
hates
was
Scrappy
great.
Doo.
I think
Scrappy's
cute. He's tiny and little and fun.
I mean, it's on you. Rebels is a great Star Wars show.
Anyway, you told me that you liked Clone Wars better, though, right?
But it's close.
But so whatever. So I watched the Clone Wars. I really like the Clone Wars. Now obviously I think the Clone Wars, some of it can be very kid like, but there's a lot of mature episodes too, which I think does happen. You just didn't start me off on the right foot with Rebels. But I got real into the Clone Wars.
Episode 1, season 1. I mean, you have to meet the characters at some point and like get their introductions.
I watched more than the first episode of Rebels. Can I please continue?
Sure.
Mr. Rebels fan. Anyway, I was so excited when the Obi-Wan show came out. I was like, ooh, we're going to get some... I want to see them flashbacks of Anakin and Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars outfits. I want a Satine mention, because that's Obi-Wan's boo, canonically, because you told me these cartoon shows are canon. And I feel like we have gotten, like... And I understand that Disney didn't own all of Clone Wars till, like, the end, but I feel like we've barely gotten so much as a breadcrumb of Clone Wars mentions. But you Rebels fans, well fed. The purple guy who looked blue to me showed up, right, in Mandalorian?
Season 3, yeah.
So you've gotten that. Now, I understand. People are going to be like, Hope, what are you talking about, well fed? You're getting the main character from the Clone Wars in a whole show. I see your point. I just want Satine's name to be mentioned one time, guys. That's all I want. But I feel like this show is almost made as a and it's getting criticism because of this, which I'm enjoying it without having so much knowledge of Rebels, but everybody's like, oh my gosh, so far all Ahsoka is like part 2 of Rebels.
Rebels season 6.
Like there was even a TikTok that was like how many times Ezra's name was mentioned, which he's a main character on Rebels that like disappeared at the end of the show or whatever because he like saved so and blah blah blah. So now he's off with that Thrawn. Am I saying Thrawn? Is that the blue guy?
Yeah.
Okay, who we have not seen yet on the show, Ahsoka.
No.
We've just seen him in previews. I'm going to be mad, and I don't even watch the Rebels because of how much we've talked about Ezra's name if I don't see Ezra at the end of the season. But you guys are, like, well-fed, and I'm happy for you. I'm like Rachel, where she's like, you know what? I'm 80% something happy, 20% like jealous, right? That'd be the right math, where she's talking about like Monica and Chandler getting engaged. Like, I'm happy that the Rebels fans are getting well fed, but when are we going to get something for the Clone Wars? And I understand everyone's going to be like, Hope, hello, Ahsoka is known from the Clone Wars. You're getting a show off of her. I just want some other sprinklings. And I think I might get it later because we know that Hayden Christensen's going to show up. Do we think he's going to show up in flashback form? Because I want to see him in his Clone Wars outfit.
We don't know right now what that's going to look like.
I would love to see him as a Force ghost.
So
you may proceed with your thoughts because I feel like they've, like the characters, like at least because I remember watching the Rebels, like Sabine, we're having a Game of Thrones issue here with names though. And Satine, Sabine, sound way too similar. Sabine, that I remember that character from Rebels. Whoever they cast looks exactly like her.
No, that's a very good casting.
Obi-Wan's wife in real life, the green girl, Hera.
She's not as popular with the Star Wars fans, but I like that casting. I think she's doing a great job.
Why do people aren't? I feel like Hera's so chill.
Because Star Wars fans are
Freddie Prinze Jr.'s
so
character died, and she has that son with him. I feel like, and clearly enough time's passed by, she seems very mentally well.
Yeah.
It seems like Sabine's the one that's taken everything real hard.
Yeah, she seems like she's been doing not well for a long time. So
those cats, the
Loth cats.
The Loth cat. I didn't know that. Apparently, I've been using this cup. I have these Star Wars mugs. One's Batuu, which is what Galaxy's Edge is, the planet like the Galaxy's Edge is supposed to be like from Disney World. And I noticed the other day after watching Ahsoka that there's a Loth cat on it. I was like, oh my gosh. Because Sabine, that's my favorite character right now in Ahsoka, is the cat.
They need to get those into the Galaxy's Edge Park.
Yeah, I have one walking around. Do something.
I do want to say, and I think you might disagree with me on this. I the more I've watched Rosario as Ahsoka, I think she's doing a really good job.
Why would I disagree with that?
Well, because you want...
Well, I love Ashley as the voice of Ahsoka. I do. I love it, and it's something I got so used to watching the Clone Wars. But I think at this point in... Like, Ahsoka's obviously older now, and she's more subdued. I think Ashley could have... In a perfect world, I would have Rosario doing the acting and, like, the voiceover with Ashley, just because I'm so used to it. But that doesn't mean I think Rosario is doing a bad job. Like, I watched a whole, like, TikTok where it showed cartoon Ahsoka, and then Rosario. Like, she even has like
the
Ahsoka's mannerisms.
Yeah, she's doing a
down.
really good job.
So you can tell she watched and did the homework. I just think that like a lot of us are so used to Ashley's voice, and Rosario's voice and tone is so different. But sometimes I've noticed though in some of these first 3 episodes where you can tell Ahsoka's trying to come off more calm and even keeled, and like trying to be like, I'm calm, I'm better, but she still starts to get a little irritated with like Sabine, and I'm like, oh, I see the Ahsoka I remember popping out a little bit, like a little where Ahsoka's getting like, I just think it's funny. You know that Anakin's looking down like, oh, look at your Padawan being all annoying, and none of that took place in Rebels, right?
I don't believe so. No.
There's a scene with Kanan. Am I saying his name right?
Yeah.
Where he was training Ezra and Sabine.
He was training Sabine before Ahsoka.
Sabine's
I think
from Mandalore. She's a Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think my understanding, and any Rebels fans out there who remember the show better than I do can correct me, but I'm pretty sure the stuff where Ahsoka trains Sabine is post Rebels, like in the intermediate time between the 2 shows.
You might need to go back and rewatch that.
I should probably do that.
But I think you're right.
I think
I've seen people talking about that because there's definitely tension among those 2 characters because it seems like Sabine kind of quit or Ahsoka kind of was like, you're getting on my nerves.
Well, I mean, it's been pretty clearly stated that she is not very force sensitive.
Yeah.
Like she is on the lower end of people who are force sensitive.
The droid guy says as much. He's like, you're the worst candidate for this.
Yeah.
Whoever he is funny. And I like that other droid that's apparently from Rebels.
Chopper. Chopper's the
funny.
best. Chopper's the best droid in Star Wars.
Okay, no, nothing's going to replace R2-D2 for me. And I like BB-8 too from the sequels. But Chopper seems like a cool guy.
So
he's very mouthy.
The first 2 episodes were really good.
Great.
It's not that the 3rd episode was bad.
Not a lot happened.
But just not much happened.
It was like a shorter episode. It just seemed like they were just like getting to their destination. Who was watching Sabine's cat? I must know.
That's the question of the hour. Like, what's going on with the cat? Is she okay?
And I'm like, if you guys have seen that TikTok that uses the clip from The Walking Dead, like, where's Rick? That's where I'm like about Anakin right now because I know Hayden Christensen is supposed to be in some episodes, and I'm like, all right, give me Anakin. Where's Anakin? I want to know where's Anakin. Bring him in.
I feel like
I knew he wouldn't be in the first 2 episodes, and I figured out the 3rd one, but I'm like, ooh, we need some because there's only like 8 episodes.
There's only 8 episodes,
so like I feel like it's time. Bring Anakin in.
And I have a bad feeling. I think it's a mistake.
What?
Go with me. I'm not saying it's a mistake to have him in. But Dave Filoni, who's the main creative guy on this, he helped create Ahsoka. He's directed episode 1, and he'll be directing episode 6.
So we think that Anakin shows up in episode 6?
So a lot of people think that's when that's going to happen.
So I'm going to have to wait 2 more episodes to see Annie?
I think that's a mistake of anticipation for a lot of people because a lot of people are going to continue to get more and more irritable the longer they have to wait, which is you raising your hand right there.
Yes.
And maybe it needed to be that long, but if it's a flashback, you could put a flashback in a lot of different places.
Well, I thought he was going to be in more than 1 episode. We think Anakin's just going to be in 1 episode?
I can't imagine he's in more than 1.
I think it would have made sense to have flashbacks in 1 episode and then the Force Ghost at the end of the season.
I think you're only getting 1.
Well, that's outrageous. It's unfair.
I don't know what to tell you. I think you're either getting a flashback or you're getting a Force Ghost. You better pick one. Which one would you rather have?
A Force Ghost, but that means I'll probably get a flashback.
Yeah, probably.
But I do want to see him in that Clone Wars outfit. It is outrageous and unfair, and I do not grant you the rank of master because of this. I think it would have made... I thought he would at least be in more than 1. He was in more than 1 of Obi-Wan.
Yeah, well, we knew that. Like, he was billed as part of that show. Yes. Whereas on this one, he's not technically been announced to be in the show.
Those clips, though,
the
in the preview...
are heavy.
That was Hayden's voice, and that was new stuff that he recorded.
Yes. Correct.
I will tell you this about Rebels. That, and I watched the scene... The animation of Anakin on Rebels was awful.
Yeah, we all made fun of that. Don't worry about it.
So do you think Ezra's going to show up in the finale, or are they going to bait that for season 2? Because I think that's dumb. If we're talking about all this stuff about Ezra, and we're not going to see Ezra at the very end, like, what are we really doing here, guys?
If he's in the episodes, it'll be like the last 1 or 2 episodes. Because he is with Thrawn.
Yeah.
So wherever Thrawn is, he is.
Thrawn.
And... The rumor right now going around, I don't know that we're getting season 2 of Ahsoka. Instead, this is going to be a precursor to a full-on movie.
Ooh. Is that the one that Daisy Ridley was going to do?
No, that's a different one.
She is going to do it, though,
They're
right?
They're working on a movie with Daisy Ridley and all the prequel the sequel characters, 15 years after Rise of Skywalker. This is a completely separate movie that Dave is working on. That'll be like kind of we think it's kind of going after an heir to the Empire book. That movie very well could have Luke Skywalker in it.
Do you think
Luke
Skywalker is going to show up on this?
I think there is a higher than 10% chance Luke Skywalker shows up in this.
That's not great. Higher than 10%.
It's not 0.
Do you think Mandalorian, Boba Fett, any of them?
No.
Now the actor
keep him out too. By the way,
Boba Fett. What?
Keep him out.
The actor who plays Boba Fett might show up as.
We think he
Rex.
might show up as Rex. Yeah,
that
would be cool. Yeah, I'd like that.
That'd be a breadcrumb for the Clone Wars people.
Yes. Well, he was in Rebels too.
All we want. Okay. You Rebels people. Anyway, I didn't think the third episode was bad. It just there was nothing happen. Sometimes this is one of my complaints about The Mandalorian, and I guarantee there's people that are going to disagree with me. I'm fine with a little bit of action, but when that's most of my episode is here's some battles, here's some action, here's some flying, and it's just so continuous. I like these shows for like the plot, like the talking, the conversations, the characters. I don't need, 20 minutes of my 35-minute episode to be consumed with just that actiony scenes. That's not what I like about Star Wars. I like about Star Wars, like the characters, their motivations, their changes, just like really how what I like to see in any show that I watch. Too much action just oversaturates me, and I'm like, okay, and I just felt like they were just flying to get from point A to point B.
All right, so then motivation-wise, our 3 villains, I guess. We've got the Morgan Elsbeth. She was in The Mandalorian Season 2.
That's the witch lady?
Yeah, the witch lady. But she seems to be really kind of a true believer about getting Thrawn back.
Yeah,
now,
and then Thrawn's obviously a villain.
The other 2, the Balin Skull and...
the little girl.
Shin, I think
she looks like a little girl. Apparently, she's not. She's got the crazy eyes.
They're
bangs,
different.
Hair.
They are.
She has the Padawan braid too,
yeah.
right?
So there's something else going on. Like I think they almost come off as hired mercenaries right now.
Yeah.
But like he had a line in the second episode about it'll be a shame to have to kill Ahsoka because there's so few Jedi left.
Yes.
Which like a Sith would just be like, yeah, let me kill this.
Do we think that's one that Darth Vader trained, or do we think? Because there's the whole rumor that Darth Vader had a Padawan and then Anakin.
There's the Marek, the other guy who we don't know anything about. He's in like the suit with the mask on.
I thought that was a woman. That
we
was
don't
in
know.
The suit. We think because it was very. See, I like the theory that that's the girl that pinned all the murders on Ahsoka in the Clone Wars.
Oh yeah,
I like that fan theory.
Crap, I can't. Now her name just escapes me immediately.
Mine too. Go watch the Clone Wars, and you know what? Probably go watch the Rebels, guys. I would probably watch. I think I would like Rebels if I hadn't tried to watch it in a season 1 start every episode format. I think like if I had done, because like I'm doing that with the Clone Wars now, but when I first started, like Daniel kind of like picked some episodes out for me, and I took to it much quicker than I did Rebels. But I think if you are a fan of Rebels and you're not watching Ahsoka yet, what are you guys waiting for? This is a show made for you.
Yep.
And I've always really liked Ahsoka. I'm annoyed that Disneyland has an Ahsoka meet and greet, but Walt Disney World
They'll get to Walt
yet.
Disney World eventually.
We still haven't seen Mando walking around with Grogu. Apparently, I'm usually not in Hollywood Studios past I guess he tends to be out at 5 p.m. I'm usually in my hotel room at 5 p.m.
Yeah, who wants to be in Hollywood Studios that late? Oh my god.
We are like the elderly morning park people. Morning is such a vibe at the park, strolling around with our coffee, getting on the rides. Then we like to get the heck out of there when it gets crowded. Anyway, other shows going on that we were not able to talk about last week. Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah, this
Season
one's a bummer, man.
It really bums me out because I love the cast. I love the first 2 seasons, but so far, and I feel like season 2 took a little bit for me to grab onto, but at this point, I was already like fully invested. so far, season 3, I have to be like, okay, well, I have to like remember like what even happened, And I think part of it is the gang is not together as much. Like
I'll
this
know.
is the first season where they're really separated.
That's
from
not
each
part
other.
of it. That is the whole part for me. Is the magic of this show
is the three of them.
Is the three of them together.
Mabel, Charles, and what's Martin Short's character's name? His name escapes me at the moment.
I don't know, but yeah, that's the magic of this show for me, and them being separated the way they are. Like I said, it's not that I have enjoyed all the scenes where Meryl has been in have been great.
Okay,
Paul Rudd when he's in is great. It's great individual stuff, but it's just not all.
And I'm not bored while I'm watching it.
But it's just not weaving together.
Memorable.
It's not weaving together into something that's catching me right now.
It's not one of those things where the episode ends and I cannot wait for the next episode to air. I'm like, oh, well, see you next week.
And I also feel like they're doing, and they did this in the other seasons, so this is maybe not a criticism of just this season, but they really were in the middle of them, like, throwing us red herrings.
Well, that's what they do. That's part of the shtick of the show.
But none of them are sticking for me. And
it's less about, like, the podcast that they did.
Yeah.
Like, they have barely, like, for me, like you said, the magic of this show is the three of them together. And this is the classic season of the breaking up of the band, so to speak. We know Mabel's going to have to leave the building.
Mm-hmm.
She's off hanging out with Jackson Avery from Grey's Anatomy. Who's he? He was like a cameraman, the documentary guy.
He was doing a documentary on Paul Rudd's character.
For Paul Rudd's character on the show. I'm sus about him.
Cobro.
100%. Are you sus about him?
Yeah, I think he could be one.
I think the brother of Paul Rudd's character is a major red flag.
I think so. They haven't explored him yet.
I don't really think they're trying to make us think it's Meryl. I don't think it's Meryl. They were trying to make it think it's not going to be another one of Charles's, like,
well, no, they already eliminated that one.
Yeah.
So
it's just this season it's good. Like, I'm enjoying it while I watch it, but it's not like there's a scene from season 2 where we think it's because Tina Fey, she and her character, she popped up randomly in one episode, seeming like she wanted Mabel to come work for her on her new podcast. Any scene Tina Fey's in is always good, but there was that scene last year where we're led to believe that it was actually Tina Fey that did it. And Fiona Apple's Criminal comes on.
That was great.
Amazing song. One of my favorite songs of the 90s. And it was so, like, it's just one of those moments in TV. Like, I'm like, and you and I were both like, what a way to end an episode. I haven't gotten that feeling yet from Only Murders.
I haven't gotten that feeling yet. And it.
And when the three of them are on screen together and they have those brief scenes, I'm suddenly sucked back in. The chemistry's there. Like, Selena Gomez she was the perfect person to cast in that role as Mabel because she works so well with those two. And they all just work so well together. And this is just a classic. And I feel like I have this issue when other shows do this, when you have the breaking up of the band, so to speak. Like, I don't like it as much because I like the chemistry of everybody together. And I'm hoping at this point, we're like 4 episodes in?
I think we're 4 episodes, yeah.
Like, and we probably don't have that much more to go, and we don't know if we're getting a season 4. I'm hoping that like they can come together at some point.
The thing for me that always tells me that I'm not vibing with a show is when like it's a weekly release and I'm not just immediately like, let's get through the day so we can watch XYZ show.
It's like, oh. And
it's like, or like when we were binging Succession a couple weeks ago, and it was like, let's get through the workday so we can sit down, eat dinner, and watch Succession. And I'm just not feeling that right now with this show.
And suddenly you have a Tuesday problem.
Yeah, I know, right? I've been complaining.
So many podcasts Daniel's complained about, been like, we need a Tuesday show. And now the only current shows that we are watching right now are both on Tuesday, Ahsoka and Only Murders.
Yeah.
And they're both short. Like, I feel like Ahsoka has not been long episodes at all.
Well, it's been inconsistent. Like we said, the third episode of Ahsoka was like 30 minutes, but the first 2 were over 45. So I don't know what they're doing. They could have put 10 more minutes on that. We're not back to Ahsoka, but they could have put 10 more minutes onto that Ahsoka episode.
Agree. So do you think Only Murders is going to come around and get us this week? So today the episode will air the day this podcast drops. Do you think that episode's going to be the one that suck us in, get us back on board? There's got to be something that's really got to bring the three of them together. Because just them being separated, and then you don't even have the podcast shtick as much. is just, it's not vibing. It doesn't feel the same. And they've even made meta jokes about how it's not as good. So I like it that they're self-aware. I think at one point I told you Only Murders could have been up there with one of my best shows going because I thought it was so funny and well done. And not that I don't laugh when it's on. It's just a show I enjoy, but nowhere near like something I'm anticipating, like you said, to get through
for sure.
day.
Yeah. So no, I'm hopeful that they'll turn it around, but they very well easily could not, those two.
But you know what has been good and getting us through our day? A show from 20 years ago.
Get my notes out.
That's right. It's time for another segment of the OC rewatch that we are doing. So we have, since we last did the podcast, watched several more episodes, and a lot has happened. And you know what, Daniel? I just am fascinated at these like 25 plus seasons of shows for how much plot they used to cram into a single season of a television show.
Quite remarkable.
I keep thinking we're almost done, and then I'll be like, oh, but what about this plot and this plot and this plot? Then I'm like, well, maybe that doesn't happen till season 2. And I'm like, no, I think it happens in season 1. And it's insane because nowadays, like The Summer I Turned Pretty, which I feel like for me, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about that anymore because we just wrapped it up, but I have to say this. The Summer I Turned Pretty is the reason why so many people my age, elder millennials, are obsessed with this show is we're all chasing that high from those teen dramas of yesteryear. Like, and I feel like the last true great one was One Tree Hill, and One Tree Hill lasted longer than the OC. People be like, oh, Hope, what about the Vampire Diaries? Yes, I watched the Vampire Diaries, but it was more of that supernatural vibe, obviously vampires. So I wouldn't count it in the same realm of like these regular in air quotes, high school students. And then we had, I thought Riverdale could have been the one. And then if you've ever watched Riverdale, you know it went quickly off the rails after season 2 and went crazy. And it's just like The Summer I Turned Pretty, all I got was 8 episodes this season. And I'm like, kids today, like they have no idea how well fed we used to be. Because we had like the OC, for example, season 1 gave us those summer set of episodes, then into the fall. And that's what shows used to do. Not every show would give you summer episodes, but some did. But even if they didn't, you only had like a few months to wait till the fall happened. Now, of course, when you're watching a show that's airing throughout the year, I remember the CW used to have like not only would they break, that's what like One Tree Hill aired on, for example, the CW. Not only would they break for like the holidays, but sometimes you would have like no episodes at all in February, and then they would come back in March with a bunch. Then you'd have another weird break. But as a whole, you got so many episodes. And you just don't get that anymore. Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy, and not even on the network cable TVs. I mean, they're a lot of those shows are under 20 at this point.
Yeah, I think we were both surprised at how many episodes we got for Ghosts.
Yeah, they got right to like 2021 or something like that.
Yeah, because we even remarked about like how a lot of shows don't do that anymore. But to kick things off, where we last left off on the OC, was right before the holiday episodes take place. So we have the OC episode 11 titled The Homecoming, and this is the infamous Thanksgiving episode. So in this episode, Ryan, it's his first Thanksgiving with the Cohen family, but he gets a call. We do see, here's another episode of me looking like a clown again. Trey, because I'm like, I don't think we see this actor for Trey, because I know they recast Trey in season 2, but that is the same actor that originally played Trey from the pilot episode. So he goes to visit him in prison. We have our first appearance of Teresa, Ryan's ex-girlfriend or whatever you want to call her. We get some Seth, Summer, Anna shenanigans, some Caleb stuff. So what do you think about the Thanksgiving episode, Daniel? I find it to be a classic holiday mess around episode.
It was fine.
It was fine.
I don't know. I mean, I don't like the Trey storyline. Just because, that's a crappy brother thing to do.
Yeah.
I get why he did it, but he really put Ryan in a bad situation.
Yeah, because then Ryan have to go steal another car for him or something.
Yeah,
or complete a deal.
He had and they weren't going to do it, and Marissa ends up pulling his butt out of the hot water on it.
Yeah, we learned that Ryan did musicals, though.
Yeah.
What did you think of our first appearance of Teresa?
I don't know.
I used to think Teresa
She
looked
was like, whatever.
so much older than like now. I still think she does look way older, but like when I first watched this, I thought she looked like old compared to like everybody else, and she does. And we looked up the actress's age, and she was older, but that's our first. And she goes away for a little bit, and I'm just gonna say this right now. You guys, Daniel does this shtick with me on purpose. Like, it was fine. He was cackling and laughing and like really enjoying the Thanksgiving episode because of all of like the Seth Summer Anna stuff and Caleb's remarks.
Well, Seth is not doing a good thing right now.
Yeah,
on
Seth
the show.
didn't vibe out very well.
Continues for a little while. He's really
Poor Seth never got a lady's attention before.
Yeah.
Suddenly doesn't know how to deal with it.
He's treating those ladies poorly, especially Anna.
He doesn't treating Summer very well either, Daniel. What about the gruesome twosome? That's what Caleb called, or excuse me, Sandy called Caleb and Julie Cooper.
Yeah, they end up showing up. I never liked that. I hate that almost as much as I hate the next one with Julie.
I feel like though
with old truck nuts.
What?
Julie hooking up with Luke.
That is not in the
That's
next.
not now, but we know it's coming.
That's coming way down the road.
And that one's worst for me. But Caleb and Julie is right under that as just like, ugh, I don't like this.
I do have a specific note from the Thanksgiving episode though that Caleb laughing and seeming proud at Seth so they had that scene in the kitchen where Anna and Summer realized that they were both at the house and that Seth was kissing both of them. And they're like, but you kissed me. And you can just see like what kind of person Caleb is because he just like laughs about it. And he like looks proud of Seth.
Yeah.
What do you say? What was the line Caleb used in the episode where he first appeared? And what was he
Chasing skirts.
Chasing skirts.
Yeah.
That's the kind of person Caleb is. And then after the Thanksgiving episode, we have episode 12, The Secret. And this was an episode that you really liked.
This was a great episode.
Luke, a.k.a. Are you still calling Luke Truck Nuts?
No, I'm going to retire it. I'm going to retire it.
Even though you just said it, you're going to retract
I just said it. Now, after episode 12, I'm going to retire it and just refer to him as Luke. He's been through enough.
So 2003 was a different time period. Even on television, everything was different back then. We talk about, we're nowhere near perfect today as a society when it comes to acceptance, but I think we can say we're better off than we were 20 years ago.
Oh, certainly.
So Luke's dad is outed. He's obviously, which is not great that Luke's dad is clearly having an affair on the mother.
No, I mean, in 2023, that would be the thing that people would focus on.
Yeah, that would be the affair part, not the part that Luke's dad was gay.
Yeah.
You said, I have actually a note that said, Daniel loved this episode and said that you told me, and I wrote this down because sometimes Daniel will be like, oh, it was fine afterwards. But I made sure I have the receipts.
Just said it was good.
You said that it was the best episode of the series that you had watched so far.
I agree. I stick to that.
And why do you think this episode was the best episode of the series so far?
I have my notes. It's just I'm a sucker for a good enemies to friends kind of storyline.
Luke and Ryan.
Yeah. And I thought that Sandy made a really good speech about acceptance, and that was really heartfelt. And then the part that got me was just at the very end of the episode when the group all walks in and Luke is there together, and they've taken him under their wing as kind of they're the group of misfit toys, so to speak.
Because Ryan's like, I'm still the kid from Chino.
Yeah.
Marissa's like, I'm the girl that OD'd in Tijuana.
Yeah.
I'm Seth Cohen.
Yeah. And it was nice to see like that kind of, that's a powerful thing. And you say, we live in a different world today than we did 20 years ago when that show aired, and stuff like that is part of the reason that we live in these different worlds now. Like that on TV for millions of people to see it. Oh yeah, it might not change a bunch of people's minds, but every person's mind that thinks about it, they watch that TV episode and they go, they're right.
Yeah.
That works. And I think it's really important when you look at it, the historical context of it and the world that was going on in 2003 versus now. Has changed a lot when it comes to acceptance on those kind of things. And I don't think it can be overlooked how
it's just
important
really tragic.
An episode of TV like that could have been back then to certain people.
It's tragic that Luke had all these friends, was popular, and just like his friends just like dropped him. And then you see in the scene with Julie and Kirsten, they're hanging out with like their other like waspy lady friends. And you can see that Julie and Kirsten are getting irritated by them just talking about the gossip about, like, oh, Luke's dad is gay, and that those two get out of there and they go out and hang out, and just because they're getting tired of it. I have in here in my notes specifically, Sandy continues to be a treasure in all caps, an absolute
greatest man
treasure.
that's ever been on
He's
television.
like the perfect man. And they did explain in this episode too Jimmy's legal issues a bit more, because we had questioned about that last time. They didn't do a great job explaining it.
Yeah, they just took a big long gap in episodes to get to it.
And I don't have in here what the explanation was, but they did explain that a little bit. I thought I agree with you. I actually have in my notes here for this one the last scene of the kids walking in. And that just shows you that everyone has their stuff. Everybody has, and I think that's true for kids and true for adults. You never know what's really going on in someone's personal life, what they're dealing with, and everybody has their issues. And I like that after Luke, what he did to Marissa, like he and Ryan never got along well. He obviously was just a straight up bully, and you see Seth kind of like was like happy about it at first, he's like, because like Luke bullied Seth all his life.
Sure.
But then when it got real and Seth sees that Luke got beat up when he and Ryan were out and those guys like jumped him or whatever, I think that's where Seth was like, okay, whoa, this is too far. And you see Seth kind of be forgiving and take him in. So I thought that was a great episode as well. And like you said, you never know who might have watched that back then to see, oh, maybe I should be more like an accepting person, or maybe it's okay. So I do think that it is one of the good, like, obviously we are nowhere near perfect where we need to be as a society, but compared to 20 years ago, like you said, today the big deal would be just the affair part, which wasn't great, that Luke's dad was cheating on the mom, but that was the whole thing back then. The whole controversy was like the gay thing.
Yes.
At the end of this episode, we got a temporary Summer Anna friendship. That was nice to see. And I love Seth. I was always a Seth gal, but like you said, he's kind of not been treating those ladies very well. And he does apologize to the girls at the end of this episode, and I think they both forgave him too easily, but it just shows us that, again, another thing about 2003, our standard of men was very low in 2003. So a simple, nice apology and a guy actually being nice, because that would have probably like won me over too, because men are jerks.
I think it was you telling me that you'd read a article with the showrunner who kind of wished he had slowed some of this down a little bit. I feel like that Summer Anna team up should have lasted at least into the next episode. Because basically at the end of this episode, that's over and they're back to competing for Seth.
The article that I read, basically, he's like, I was a first-time showrunner, and he's like, and I just crammed way too much plot in the first season, and I could have spread out some of those storylines.
Like half of these episodes feel like 2 episodes worth of stuff these days. It's crazy. And
then we got to episode 13, one of my favorite episodes, and one that I have recently rewatched, not you, because it's part of my Christmas playlist. The best Chrismukkah ever. I have Chrismukkah, a great holiday episode. Marissa is still a mess. We have Marissa finally going to therapy because she was a little kleptomaniac at the mall and stealing. We have Ryan and Julie temporary bonding over their hatred of the holidays. I'm with Seth on this. I love the holidays. And we get more of the Summer Seth Anna triangle. That's the infamous episode where Anna makes a cute little comic book for Seth. Summer dresses about Captain Oates. Summer dresses up as Wonder Woman, as one of Seth's favorite comic book characters. He gets them both the same Christmas present. He decides he's just going to try to be friends with both of them because he doesn't want to lose either of them. And they're like, we don't want to be your friend. So the Seth Cohen starter packs, which I know it includes a copy of the Goonies. Is Death Cab one of the CDs he puts in there? I don't
remember what else.
He ends up giving them to Kirsten and Sandy.
Yeah.
Ryan, I have Ryan's stalking moment as a thing where Ryan gets his... Because at first Ryan is just so concerned about Marissa the whole episode. And I think this is another example of how Sandy is a treasure. Sandy's like, you know what? It's great you care about Marissa, but you need to care about yourself. You're with us now. You're part of our family. And finally, Ryan hangs up the stocking, and it's a very nice moment.
It also, like, Ryan has this continuous anxiety about, if I mess up one more time, they're just going to kick me out.
Yeah, they're going to throw me out.
And Sandy keeps reassuring him, no, that's not the case.
And he also has that Lucas Scott, One Tree Hill
savior complex.
Big time. And this episode, we also get our intro to Oliver Trask. We hate Oliver. Now I'm watching this as an adult, the Oliver episodes. I see it a little differently. Like, obviously, I knew Oliver was disturbed back then, but I was so annoyed by his presence on my screen. Where now, as I watch it, and I do feel actual sympathy for the character.
I feel sympathy for him. I want to know.
I'm angry with his parents.
Why has the state not stepped in and taken him away from
Right?
his parents yet? Because they are absentee to the millionth degree.
You want to know why? Money.
Oh, yeah.
Rich,
well, sure. Yeah.
rich,
And it's also a TV
rich.
show.
So let's just go right
Look,
on
I
in.
just got.
Let's just go right on into episode 14. Speaking of Oliver, the countdown. This is our New Year's episode. See, this is a time period where not only did we get a Thanksgiving episode, a Christmas episode, we also got a New Year's episode. This is our first intro to Haley Nickel. That's Kirsten's younger sister. We looked up her age. I think it's crazy that actress is playing much younger. She's actually closer in age to the kids, and it kind of gives me the ick factor knowing that. I always thought Haley looked really young in real life, but I didn't realize she was that young, like the actress.
Right. She's younger than some of the
She's younger than Teresa.
Yeah, well, some of those actors. So.
I have beginning of Oliver annoying arc.
Yeah.
That's my sentence in this.
I have. So can I ask you a question about this episode?
Yes.
If you and I accidentally found ourselves at a swingers party.
Back it up a little bit to talk about why we're talking about a swingers party in this rewatch.
But
But
they had deviled eggs. Would you hang out for a bit and eat a few deviled eggs before you got out of there?
I will answer the question when you explain why you're talking about a swingers party in the
Sandy and Kirsten go to a swingers party. Well, who sent them there? Haley sent them there.
Haley says
they did
you
not
guys
go
are in
there
a
with
rut.
intent.
Why don't you go to this party? And she kind of messes with them a little bit because Haley's a little stinker. You know what? I'm not into swinging, but I do love me some deviled eggs.
Love a good deviled egg.
And when we were watching this episode, I was like, okay, I would stay to get a plate.
This is all based off of Sandy's comment of, oh, they have deviled eggs. That's suggesting maybe they stick around for a minute.
Believe we paused the episode and looked at each other and was like, ooh, deviled eggs.
Yeah.
And then we talked about making some this weekend, which we did.
I also noted that today, the way they distribute, the couples breaking off is by the men putting their watch into the fishbowl.
Everybody's Apple Watch.
And I suggested, man, I wouldn't track my steps if I took my watch off.
But
I don't
Sandy
do that.
doesn't actually drop his watch in the thing. He's just messing with Kirsten. Then she's messing with him a little bit. But yeah, I think I would stay just to get a plate of food and then I'd leave. What about you? You better not stay.
Yeah. I'd get some food, get out of there.
Get out of there.
Yeah. I don't think food's involved in swinging, right?
I mean, they had deviled eggs before. That's not really a sexy food.
It's not a sexy food to eat, is it?
Is it like a fart and swingers party?
Somebody sensually eating a deviled egg.
I guess. Oh, man. This episode also brought us to one of my... I clearly messed up in my show notes, and I have to read what I wrote because this isn't what I meant. I have iconic Marissa's summer kiss.
Hey, I missed that one. I missed that one.
I meant Marissa Ryan kiss, so... On my OC fans know what I'm talking about. I said this is cinema perfection. I don't care if it's cheesy, but obviously Ryan, once again, savior complex, is trying to save the Coens home because Haley's crazy and throwing a party. And if I'm Ryan and Seth, I'm like, I don't care. It's her fault, and I'm getting out of there and doing what I want and just gonna blame her. But Ryan always having to save people. So Haley somehow locks them in the pool house so they can't get out from the inside.
Okay,
I'm confused about
my
that.
production mind went to a place for a minute when she did that because I was like, how could she lock them into the pool house?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's possible. I think it's a bad way for her
so
to
you gotta just suspend belief there. But Ryan busts out of that joint. And we got, creepy Oliver already trying to put the moves on Marissa, and sweet little Marissa just can't.
They didn't bust out. She came back and got him later because some women showed up that wanted to beat her up.
Oh,
and she was like, help me get them out of the house.
So they didn't bust out.
Yeah.
Anyway, can I move on? Can I describe
Please, I wish you would.
Can I describe the cinema perfection of the scene? So whatever, Ryan finally is able to leave.
Ryan,
the Cohen home. And... we have the slow down scene. We've got Oliver moving in and creeping on Marissa. Ick. And then we've got Ryan running. We've got the music. And then have the slow-mo and the confetti comes down. And he sees Marissa and tells her that he loves her too. And they kiss. You said now Kith, that's a meme. But I get at the beginning of the episode, to walk you back, Marissa tells Ryan that she loves him for the first time, and he says thank you. That's what I said to you the first time you told me you loved me. I said thank you.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Did it feel good? I was emotionally.
It didn't feel
I was a
great.
closed book.
It wasn't the. It's not the ideal thing when you're getting ready to say something like that to somebody. That's not necessary.
Yes.
Thank you is not what you're looking for in that case.
But I wanted to make sure that I meant it. So I was like, thank you.
So you waited until like later when you had like tissues stuffed up your nose as you were sick.
You took care of me when I was sick. That's a beautiful story. Not as great as the slow motion kiss with the confetti. I guess my tissues were the confetti and my snot was like... Also in this episode, Seth picks Anna out of convenience, in my opinion, because Anna leaves the party, goes to find Seth. And I think Anna was the easier choice because Seth had been so into Summer all his life. He had built her up.
Lower stakes,
less to lose. And they do have a lot in common. They're very much the same type of person. And I think that it was just the easier choice for him. And I'm going to say this as a Seth Summer fan. I think that they should have made that relationship last a little longer and drawn out the plot a bit more than they did.
Agree.
But because everything is so rushed.
I agree. By like what, one more episode after this
I
one?
think there's a couple more where
they're already starting to like
we
show.
They're starting to show cracks, but we get a couple episodes of them together. But he's still clearly like he's not treating Anna very well by like flirting with Summer in front of her and all that stuff. This episode also, you said Summer and Julie. Rachel and Melinda Clark are finally in the credits.
Yes,
Summer
they finally popped into the credits there, which should have immediately given it away to you in 2003, 2004 watching this. Which one's he going to end up with ultimately?
The one he's kissing in the credits, perhaps? And then the last episode we're going to talk about on this rewatch is The Third Wheel, and we're getting lots more of Oliver. So we are currently in the Oliver era of the OC, and I'm not a fan. I was not a fan of it during its original air. When I rewatched the episodes long time ago, not a fan of it.
Dude's unstable.
Is that going to show up on the...
Me cracking my knuckles?
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. He's clearly got issues. We are seeing it we're seeing scenes of him like kind of staring into the window at people that other people aren't getting, but...
That was the first time they gave us like a real hint that this guy is not good
totally
news. Like
not
before
right.
that, all we were really getting was Ryan having a bad vibe with him. But then at the end of that episode, when he was like creepy staring in the window.
And he's already busted for drugs because Ryan, again, Mr. Wrong Place, Wrong Time, Ryan always is showing up. He sees Oliver buying drugs. Ryan, being the nice guy he is, gets Sandy to get him out of it. And then that's where Oliver's creeping on the house. So.
I mean, really, the show is Ryan being at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Always.
That is the show.
Julie and Caleb. He catches Oliver. It's just always, and then Ryan's always the one that I feel like in this whole Oliver arc, like just picked up on the vibes before anyone else did. And like even people like Seth, like we're like, oh, you're just overreacting. And I don't think he was ever jealous from a romantic perspective, not once, that Oliver was going to take Marissa that way. He saw Oliver as unstable.
Yeah, I agree.
That he
thought
Marissa.
he was dangerous.
That episode, though, featured Rooney, which is a real band, and the whole time we're watching that, I'm like, that lead singer looks like, and you were like, what are you babbling on over there about? I was like, that guy looks like the guy from the Princess Diaries. It is. I still don't know. I'm like Luke with the which one's Rooney? Like I don't know. Do you? Apparently they had an album and everything.
When we got to the part where they sang, I remembered one or two of those songs, but I never remember who sang them.
The OC had a lot of great music. Both the OC and One Tree Hill had a lot of great songs that I think, did introduce people to like me, like you, like other people. I mean, you have your like little alternate station that you listen to, but there's a lot of songs I probably would have never listened to if it hadn't been for the OC or One Tree Hill. So a lot of those shows did a lot for music as well.
Alt Nation, Sirius XM Radio.
One thing I like 90s on 9, thank you, or the early 2000s station. One thing I have to comment on, I'm always talking about the fashion on this show, the guys' fashion, men of the world, and you used to do this too. What's up with the long sleeve shirt and then the short sleeve shirt over top of it. Lucas Scott dressed like that on One Tree Hill. Ryan is constantly dressing like that on the OC. Seth has rocked this look a few times, and I have photographic evidence of you doing this very same look. It just seems like you should put the long sleeve shirt over
the t-shirt because it's layering. It's about layering and being comfortable. And if I'm cold, I've got a t-shirt and a long sleeve shirt, and if I suddenly get hot, I can take the long sleeve shirt off. But if I am the opposite situation, I have to take both shirts off to put the t-shirt back on.
So was it like a fashion?
I have no idea what we were thinking.
Was it like a fashion thing?
No idea.
No idea.
No idea at all.
Because I'm constantly seeing that look pop up.
Maybe
I feel
we
like
all had.
Lucas Scott rocked it more than anyone else, but Ryan's done it a lot.
We were all very proud of our T-shirts,
like your graphic T-shirts,
of our
from
graphic
American
tees,
Eagle.
And we wanted to make sure they were on display. But it was also chilly outside, so we needed to have our arms covered up. I don't know. I moved on.
Mystery.
I moved on very quickly from that to just a flannel. And that's been has been my vibe ever since.
Ryan has the long sleeve shirts on sometimes, and then he'll put like the short sleeve like button up, but not like put it together. And he just wears it as like almost like a jacket over. And Ryan also dresses like the Ken dolls. Half the time when he's not wearing the white shirts or the shirts over it, he always wears that black shirt, and it just reminds me of like the Ken.
Oh yeah.
Ryan, you are Knuff.
I do want to say once again, Sandy Cohen, greatest man ever.
Greatest man
absolute
ever.
Legend.
Treasure.
He's consoling Haley at some point during this episode, and he has just
Even though she's eating his bagels.
She's been eating all his bagels and taking all his food. He finally gets a good sesame seed bagel. He takes the time, he puts the cream cheese on it. He has it all prepped and ready to go. He sits down, and then Haley sits down. They have a good conversation. She's feeling sad about things because like there's conflict between Kirsten and Caleb and her. And at the end of their conversation, he takes the top of his bagel and gives it to her. What a man.
What a man. What a man. What a man. What a mighty good man. He also does a good Sylvester Stallone impression that he did in the Christmas episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's just perfect. He's the perfect man.
Which, by the way, I don't know if we said this on last podcast episode. I would watch a prequel series to this with Sandy and Kirsten and Haley and Caleb and all them
and Jimmy and
Julie when they were younger.
Absolutely.
In a heartbeat.
I mean, we get the one episode, I think, in season 2 where they do the flashbacks. And I feel like people at that time wanted that to happen. They're like, why don't we have a prequel? I would do a Kickstarter campaign. Make this happen. I want to see it. I would love to see it. And on this rewatch, another thing I've noticed is how much more invested I am, speaking of the perfect Sandy Cohen, into the adult storylines. Like, I barely remembered, what did you say? Because I'm getting old.
You heard me. Yeah.
I guess. I barely remembered, like, the Devil Eggs Swingers Party. Barely remembered that plot. I have pretty much no knowledge of Sandy and Jimmy, like, going into a restaurant business together.
I'm telling you right now, I want to get it on the record so that when we get to that episode, you cannot deny, and nobody can deny it. There is an episode of this show where they're, like, obsessing about meatloaf for a while.
Well, that he and Jimmy did talk about it in one scene.
But there's more. They have like a professional chef making like a bunch of different meatloafs for them. I know this happened. I didn't make it up. It's a real thing.
Or it's a fever dream.
If you're out there and you know what I'm talking about, let me know. We're not there yet, but when we get there, you're gonna see.
You'll all see. So we got a lot. We know that we're getting some good Seth Summer content finally coming up in the next few episodes.
We have to suffer through more Oliver.
And it just feels like Oliver was on this show forever, and I know that's probably not the case, but that's how annoying this character was.
I know
Kudos to the guy playing Oliver.
They're only 40-some minute episodes, but man, it just feels like so much happens.
A lot of Oliver. So much has happened.
Anyways,
previously on the OC.
Previously on We Watch TV. I think that's what we got for you this week.
Yeah, we wanted to go see the Turtles movie, and our theater doesn't have it anymore.
We can buy it streaming now, so we'll probably do that.
I guess. What a bummer. I wanted to go and have my movie popcorn.
Bummer, dude. Cowabunga. We'll watch it. So, anyways, that is the episode. Again, just want to remind you, if you have not followed us on Apple or Spotify or Overcast or Google, or there's like a million of them out there, and you guys are all listening from a bunch of them.
And follow us on our Instagram, too, at We Watch TV Podcast. And we have been listening to some of your suggestions for shows. Severance, I think, was our recent suggestion.
Yeah.
It's got Adam Scott, right?
Ben
From
Wyatt, yes.
From Parks and Rec. Also from Boy Meets World. Huh.
Also from Step Brothers.
Also, he can sing high. And we are making a list of those and hopefully start some of those shows soon.
Well, things that we're starting to get into a bit of a drought here.
Yeah. So it's starting to get, and it's going to get worse with the strike.
Yeah, it's going to get worse.
And we do have some shows that are coming up soon. We got some premiere dates. So we will have some stuff on the horizon. Bachelor in Paradise comes back September 28th. The Golden Bachelor premiere the same day, an hour before. Have you seen that? I don't think I showed you.
Wait, they're not doing the Golden Bachelor at like 5 p.m.?
No.
They're missing their designated audience.
Did I show you the cast picture for the Golden Bachelor?
No.
I expected from this show to be cute old people. Instead, I get a pretty good-looking old man for a lead, and all the women are like in their 70s and like super hot. And I'm like, what is going on? The morning show, that is also on is it Apple TV Plus?
I don't know what it's called.
I
just call it Apple
TV. Their season 3 trailer dropped. We have a premiere date September 13th for that. So very soon. That is a show that I watch.
Before we end the podcast, Star Trek Lower Deck season 4 starts in September.
Do you have a premiere date?
No, but I had to get a Star Trek reference into the podcast.
Dancing with the Stars. We plan to do a Dancing with the Stars segment. We do not. I don't think they've officially announced the premiere date, but the speculation is that it's going to be Tuesday, September 26th, because of Monday Night Football on ABC, and then they'll go back to being on Mondays. We know that Charity from The Bachelorette's going to be on. We knew that Mira Sorvino, am I saying her name right? She's apparently an Oscar-winning actress. I know this woman from Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. I feel like so does everybody else. And then I don't watch that Vanderpump Rules show that y'all are obsessed with. But one of those people are on. We don't know who else is going to be on there. I think the writer strike and actor strike is really going to impact the cast. What do you think for Dancing with the Stars?
Well, because, a lot of them are like, is it iffy whether they can
They're
participate?
allowed to compete on reality TV. They are allowed to do that. It's just the question of will they want to do and the ethics, I think, behind it. So we will. I think that show, they're saying this year it's going to end after Thanksgiving. When it's done that in the past,
maybe we're going to see episodes. We're about in for a lot of retired athletes.
I hope so. I haven't heard any news about the only are those 3 women that I've heard. Like, normally this time of year we already have tons of rumors. Nothing. We know who the pros are going to be, who's coming back. But we will definitely be talking
about that. Let Tom Bergeron compete. He hosted it for so long. Let him compete.
I feel like
I don't think he wants to.
He kind of had some bad blood with the way the show ended. Anyway, on that note, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.